like the idea of engaging him right away and saying, hey, big opportunity, let's hit the ground running here. The question, of course, is the Matthews line is likely to get the tough matchups. That's what Craig Berube likes to do, and that's a big reason why William Nylander did not get any sort of sustained look on that spot, it felt like, at least. And so I like the idea of Max Domi there. It'll be a storyline that we'll be watching all training camp. To see who's there. Michelli as a newcomer to the team, do you want to put that pressure on him right away, trying to bounce back from a tough year, put him right beside Austin Matthews? I know Sheldon Keefe always liked that idea of the new guy coming in and making him feel important right away. I remember Kelly Yarncroke got signed, and he started training camp on the line with Austin Matthews, and they wanted him to feel like, okay, you're really a big part of this. So that's one way of approaching it. I'm not sure what Berube is going to do. I just know personally I like the idea of the Domi-Matthews connection. We know they've had success in the past, and I just want to get Domi up and running right away next season.
What area of Matthew Knies' game do you think has the biggest opportunity for growth now that he may be asked to carry the puck or do more than when there was Marner on the opposite wing?
Well, I know when he signed his extension, he said the area he was focusing on was skating better. I think everyone says that to a degree. They want to get faster. He's a big guy. If he can add a little bit more speed. He was already, it felt like, surprising a lot of guys with his speed last season and just the burst that he had I'll never forget one of the best goals of the season was that buzzer beater in Pittsburgh, where just, the face-off in his own zone, and he just bursts through and beats Erik Karlsson and stops the clock with 0.1 seconds left. So I find him already to be pretty fast for a big guy, but if he can add an extra step, I'm sure that would be helpful. And I just think he's still a young guy. He's just figuring out, even every game, every season, what he can do with that frame. It feels like a unique for the Leafs for sure, and in the league. I know he kind of models himself a bit on Brady Tkachuk, and those Tkachuk brothers are pretty unique. So I think maybe physically he can amp it up even more, more consistently in that regard. And I think speed, if he adds a little bit more, this package is already pretty incredible. If he can do that, watch out.
Obviously, Mark, they've done a nice job filling in the lower ranks. The defense was good. The goaltending was good. And cap space is now somewhat limited. Do you see them adding anything else before camp opens?
I don't think so. If anything, it looks like they maybe have to make a move out. If they were to move someone out, they could make a couple, one change, maybe two changes. I don't think anything huge is coming down the pipe. We'll see. But it's possible. They've brought in a lot of guys. I'm looking forward to training camp. I think that there's going to be some good competition there, whether it's for the spot on the top line, down the lineup, who fits in where. How's Bobby McMahon going to come into camp? Remember, he started last year as a healthy scratch. He didn't have a very good training camp, so I'm sure he'll be motivated coming into a contract year to get off to a good start and maybe earn a spot in that top six. Because obviously he went on a huge drought down the stretch last year into the playoffs, and in his first Stanley Cup playoff experience, he did not perform particularly well. So lots of good storylines going into training camp this year. A lot of guys who should be really motivated. Easton Cowan is another guy we'll be watching. He was asked at development camp about Marner moving on. Marner's been a mentor to him, and he said, yeah, he moves on. It's tough, but opportunity there for a bunch of guys. So it should be an interesting training camp.
So, Masters, we'd be remiss without asking you a little bit of tennis stuff with the U.S. Open on the horizon. The big story, of course, Vicky Mboko. She won the big National Bank Open in Montreal. She is the rising star of the moment in the sport. And the good news is she's the top-seeded Canadian coming into the U.S. Open at number 22. Bad news is she draws a two-time Grand Slam champion in Barbara Krejcikova. What do you make of that matchup?
Yeah, it's a tough first-round matchup, I would think. I was looking back at Bianca Andreescu's draw when she, back in 2019, had won in Toronto and then parlayed that momentum into a U.S. Open championship. And that was also, just like in Mboko, her first U.S. Open main draw. So she was a rookie coming in, and she actually drew a player in the first round who was younger than her. So she had even more experience, and I thought that was a good draw to kind of ease her way in there. But, yeah, facing a veteran, a two-time Slam champ, won Wimbledon last year. Hasn't had a ton of success since then, but we'll give you nothing for free. And yeah, that's going to be tricky, because if you look at it, if Mboko is going to stub her toe, you'd think a big issue would be the inexperience. It did not seem to affect her in Montreal. It did not seem to affect her really all season long. Maybe a bit in that second round loss in Wimbledon against Haley Baptiste, perhaps. but she really hasn't had that issue. But this will be a tricky for sure. And after that, the draw does open up. You never want to look too far ahead, but her third round opponent, the first seed she faced, Emma Navarro, who made the semifinals last year at the U.S. Open, number 10 seed, but hasn't had a great season to date, really not in great form coming in, and will have a lot of pressure to back up that semifinal result last year. So I think the draw opens up well, but this will be a tricky opener for Mboko as she gets set. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. You haven't even played the U.S. Open before. She arrives as a seeded player and Canada's top singles player. What a story.
Fabulous. Mark, thanks very much. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Anytime.
Mark Masters, our Maple Leaf reporter and tennis guru as well, getting us set for the U.S. Open, and that's the sure sign that summer is concluding.
Yeah.
U.S. Open.
Yeah, that is pretty much, you're right. That's the sign, man. Those late night matches in the waning days of summer out at Flushing Meadow. But this Vicky Mboko story, man, it's pretty incredible. This 18-year-old from Burlington, and hey, she beat 3 Grand Slam champions to win the National Bank Open. What's another one to start off her run at the U.S. Open?
Speaking of young Canadian talent, so we're at the LPGA, the KPKC tournament going on at Mississauga. Aphrodite Deng, an amateur Canadian, 15 years old, has a share of the lead 5 under after the first round. Kang from the U.S. is also 5 under, and Lopez out of Mexico is also 5 under. So maybe another great weekend for a young Canadian.
Yeah, pretty incredible story. I mean, Aphrodite Deng, she born in Calgary. She grew up most of her young life in the States, actually. She was a figure skater for a while. But yeah, she became the first Canadian to win the U.S. Junior earlier this summer, fellas. And now to see her, it's one thing to win a junior tournament. She's won a bunch of those, but to see her among the world's best players, and pretty much all the best players are at this tournament out at Mississauga Golf and Country Club, to see her doing that today was pretty special.
Coming up next, going to play Yes Guy, No Guy. Later on, Keegan Matheson at 5:05. At 5:30, Nathan Rourke, BC Lions quarterback, as Overdrive continues live on TSN 1050, TSN 4, and live on YouTube.